destiny, shadows fading slow, guardians asking where to go. No third chapter, no grand design, just empty towers and wasted time. Marathon calling through neon rain, trying to outrun Bungie's name. Players whisper, don't fall again. Trust is hard to buy back in. Nobody plays forever. Nothing gold survives the flame. One world dies while another rises. Still they ask us to believe again. Raise your glass to the unstable. Secrets spread across the table. No spin, no myth, no fable. Welcome back to the round table. Steam Deck prices climbing high. Future hardware passing by. Halo drifting through outsourced halls. Echoes ringing through the walls. Then Bond walked in without a sound. Critics smiling all around. 007 lighting up the night. Finally something done up right. Everybody wants the next big game. Nobody wants to blame. Promises in gold and black. Funny how they all come back. Nobody plays forever. Nothing stays the way it was. Destiny fades into the distance. Marathon still chasing trust. Raise your glass to the unstable. Every rumor on the table. No spin, no myth, no fable. We break it down at the round table.
Then, hello, everybody. Welcome into the Gaming Roundtable. I think that song might be sufficient enough for the show since it was, good and covered all that stuff. But yeah, I'm Mark. Brian's not here today. All he told me to do was to show chest here and read this quick advert from hymns.com. I joke about that part. Lono is here, Kirk is here, and Scrag is helping his mom. I hope she's okay. So we have his chair for us today, but we're going to be talking about Bungie news. We're going to be talking about, Marathon, Destiny 2, what's up with Destiny 3, maybe talk a little bit about 007, and I'll stop there. Lono, Kirk, how you both doing?
Good. Yeah, it's been a good week. I came back from vacation and we got all these great games coming out. I mean, and the Bungie news is not great, but yeah, I'm doing well.
I got to ask how. I'm sorry, we'll get to you, Kirk, but you mentioned vacation. I always like to know, how was your vacation? Where did you go? If you want to reveal that information.
Yeah, I mean, I use the word vacation loosely. We take family trips, so as a dad, you're like, that's not really vacation, but it was a relaxing time. We went to Florida and we got to stay with my sister-in-law and brother-in-law. They have a pool. The kids loved it. They swam like fish and they slept like rocks. It was good. It was a good trip.
That's the greatest thing in the world is whenever they tire themselves out. Yeah, traveling with kids is it exists. So with that, Kirk, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. The weather's good outside. We're getting some good summer weather. Like Lono said, we got some really good games coming out. I still haven't dived into Lego Batman, but I really want to do that. I actually have spent time watching the we'll call it the trilogy, I guess. There's that fourth film, Batman and Robin, that I really enjoyed as a kid. Doesn't hold up quite as much as an adult, but I've spent some time watching those again, sort of prepare for the references and things like that to really enjoy those to the fullest. And I know Lono was posting clips on Twitter the other day that I was engaging with, as far as like references even to the new Batman. So it's going to be exciting, I think, for me, and I know people have already said it's exciting to like see how they interweave all the different movies and stuff into like one sort of plot through line and stuff with all these different actors, all these different moments. So I'm excited for that. And then 007, man, like love for Io the fact that like everybody seems to think that they knocked it out of the park. I've been a big Hitman fan since, oh my god, Hitman 2, like Hitman Blood Money. I was back supporting them in the Absolution days. So like I'm really, really happy to see them find success with another franchise with an IP as big as 007, and for people to feel like they really nailed it. So yeah, it's a great time for gaming right now, and Summer Game Fest is right around the corner as well.
Yeah, no, I hope you messaged me, Kirk, about Batman. I hope we have some time to talk about that and 007, because I have thoughts, as does anyone that's on a podcast online about video games. But it was fun, and I enjoyed my time with it. And Scrag, you just made it back as we kicked off. Is everything okay? I'm going to ask without
she's okay. The stingers didn't even get stuck in except for one on her head, so she's fine.
We could provide context there, but let's leave it at that. Scrag, how are you? You did it. Okay. So how are you, and how's life been for you this week?
Life's been all right for me. I forgot I left my dogs outside, so that's not good. But yeah, everything's okay. A little bit less busy this week. So that's an improvement. But I'm gonna go let my dogs in now.
All right, Scrag will be back. So
okay. So to clarify, he didn't mean like overnight or something. like just temporarily, like for a little while.
Yeah, and I my favorite part is how he realized it before he came back to the stream, and now he's like, he's back. Okay, so
sorry.
You're good. So I think with that, Lono, I was listening to your show this morning, and you had a lot to talk about in terms of Destiny 2, Destiny 3. I watched a little bit of content on that this week, specifically Jason Schreier becoming a YouTuber, which I love, and watched his video on it. But I thought, Lono, if you want to kick it off, let's talk about what's the latest with Bungie and Destiny 3. What's all the news and what's happening there?
Well, I mean, the major news, in case people missed it, like the quickest fly through, is that they have announced the final content ad for Destiny 2 will be happening with no content planned beyond that. That will be happening in June. There is also the growing sense that June will be a significant moment for Bungie as a company. There are anticipated significant layoffs due to the impairment loss, as well as I think just there has been an ongoing plan for PlayStation to do restructuring. Starting late last year into this year, they were starting to be listed as a PlayStation studio. There was a clear hiring freeze that happened this year as well. And this all happened after Pete Parsons left. So at this moment in time, there is a giant fork in the road, and nobody knows what direction we're going to go. There's like 3 different places this could go. There is a continued commitment to Marathon from Bungie, as well as even Lin Tao, the CFO of Sony. But we don't know what that's going to look like once we get on the other side of June. I'm anticipating leadership, lots of them either leaving or being fired, significant layoffs, restructuring, and then a plan will be formally announced. Currently, nothing's being greenlit, which I think makes sense. That's what's being reported by Schreier as well as Paul Tassi. There's nothing being greenlit. I don't anticipate anything being greenlit until we get on the other side of what will be probably a pretty significant restructuring of the studio.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I was kind of blown away by the cost involved to potentially go about Destiny 3. I think Jason Schreier hit on that. It's like around $500 million is the estimate. And money's not cheap nowadays, right? It's different if this was 2020 and there was zero interest financing and stuff like that, but they got a lot of decisions ahead. Kirk, you seem like a passionate person about Destiny 2. I don't know why. There's nothing giving that away. What are your thoughts on what's happening here?
I mean, I think Destiny 2 had a really, really good run. I think that the content that they're pushing out for the Monument of Triumph update with, I mean, they're literally throwing in the kitchen sink, which I would consider Sparrow Racing League to be the kitchen sink, and everything else, to try to, I guess, give back to the community in a way, or at least put the game in the best state possible for this kind of maintenance mode, as it were. I mean, I think you have a divide in the community right now between people that don't care about Destiny, people that really, really care about Marathon, and then people that really, really do care about Destiny, that Destiny meant a lot to. But you have people that are experiencing grief, that are experiencing sadness at something that, meant a lot to them, that is going to transition into a stage of its life where it's not continue to be a living game, which is what was the promise that Bungie delivered on for over a decade. And then you have what feels like a lot of anger, and I do think that the anger there is like a little bit of a bridge too far. I've seen a lot of people that are grieving for something that was a very unique game that a lot of other developers tried to replicate. You look at Anthem, Marvel's Avengers, Suicide Squad, all these other games that The Division even, that was moderately successful at aping Destiny, but a lot of others failed because Bungie really, really did show that they knew how to make that kind of game better than anyone else did, and they delivered on that in spades. And so for that to go away now with not really any alternatives really measuring up, I mean, I totally understand the loss there. I understand as a player of Destiny and Destiny 2 for almost 3,000 hours, that Destiny 1 was more special to me. I didn't really care for Destiny 2. That's just a personal preference. But
Thank you.
I do know that game is special because I experienced that firsthand. So, I mean, Datto cried about it. I mean, I think these are normal emotions and reactions. The thing that I don't agree with and I don't support is we've seen a lot of anger and resentment from the community as far as like basically demanding that Bungie, not invest into Marathon, that some sort of investment be made in the future. As far as, I mean, Destiny 3 is the kind of just the rally cry, the refrain. And I don't understand like this concept that like the consumer has this sort of leverage, because I mean you've got folks that have poured their heart and soul, as it were, into like making this game for like 12 years, that have delivered content year after year after year, and a lot of those folks did move over to Marathon and made something else. And you have a large coalition of people that, rightfully so, like the consumer has buying power, the consumer has abstaining power, are like, this isn't what we wanted, like we wanted more Destiny content. What I don't understand is the people saying, hey, I want this product, you need to go make this product. The consumer doesn't have leverage there. If the consumer wanted to say, well, look, I want Destiny content. If you're not going to make any more Destiny, I'm not going to play Marathon. I'm going to go play Warframe. I'm going to get behind. I'm going to buy Division 3 day one. Ubisoft's going to get my business. That's the type of bargaining power and leveraging power that the consumer has. This like rally crying in the streets of like people being like, Bungie, you need to make Destiny 3. And people being angry at Bungie for making Marathon, for trying something different that is ultimately kind of like a flawed and failed passion project, as it were, that they're going to try to get as much ROI out of now that it's out in the ether. Like, they already spent the $250 million on it. They're going to try to get some of that back. This idea that like people can demand that a developer make a game or a publisher produce a game, I don't understand where that's coming from, and I think it has to boil down to just like gamer entitlement maybe. And it's also spurred by the fact that like that grief is very strong and potent. And so like I think people are experiencing that grief around a game that was as special as Destiny, but they're exhibiting it in ways that I think are unhealthy for the gaming community space right now. And I hope that sort of phases out and we can kind of like grieve and mourn for Destiny for the thing that it was, rather than like spinning into, hateful rhetoric and demanding that developers like make a game that is simply not being made. And I mean, does anybody ask them if they want to make it? I don't know, but
Yeah, I think something you said there is one thing I've learned for the 6 years I've been heavily online, is that takes of folks, of the hardcore gamers online, are always well balanced and come from a healthy mindset.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. Only the most
and-
mature takes.
Yeah, only the most mature takes. And to your point about consumer buying power, I think if the consumer buying power was there, Destiny 2 wouldn't be shutting down. right? If they were already spending enough
Absolutely.
money and there was enough demand there, Sony would have been investing in a Destiny 3 if they saw that demand as well. So it's hard. I think the interesting thing for me, and Scrag, I know this might make you sad because what I hear is you're the only marathon defender on the chat. But what's been
I
interesting
wouldn't say
to-
defender. I would say enjoyer. I don't
Okay.
need to defend myself from low IQ people. It's just not necessary. So
all right,
it's
So
fine. I
shots
enjoy
fired.
it. I don't need to justify that to you.
I'll go on record and say that Marathon could use some defending from time to time. I'll go ahead and cop to that. Marathon is
It's not my job to defend. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll enjoy
It's,
a product that a company
guilty
has
pleasure
made,
type of game. I would say Marathon.
and whatever amount of money they spent on that product, it still only cost me $40. So it is literally not my problem.
Oh,
So
connecting the dots there, it's like the dialogue I've seen online, and Lono, you've probably seen this as well. Scrag, I'm sure you've seen it, but there's been people like actively wishing Marathon to fail now because they're upset there's no Destiny 3, which is, I don't know if people understand the concept of logic. That's not
that's
going to help
ironic.
Bungie make a Destiny 3 at all. So, which is interesting to me is all. And I don't know. I mentioned this weeks ago or months ago now, is there's a lot about Marathon I wish was more like Destiny. And from what I've heard, I've not done any research because I don't care enough, but I've heard there's this content season 2 coming up for Marathon as well. And there's some potential PvE. Like what are the tweaks happening there?
Well, so they're talking about they're going to have a PvE mode. You're talking about Marathon, right?
Yeah, season 2. What's going on there?
There's going to be a PvE mode later on, which is really cool. Because
Which they haven't spoken to, by the way. I mean, they put out this like
they just-
8.5 minute, I think, like vid doc, classic Bungie style vid doc of like what they're gonna do in season 2, and I see nothing about PvE stuff. So like, I think that they're reacting to the greater community sentiment, and they're trying to sort of plug holes in the boat, as it were, and they're asserting that, hey, we're going to address these things, we're going to do these things, and I think that they mean that in good faith. I think there's going to be a PvE mode in the game. Can they get that ready to go for like any type of anything in proximity to this like free to play week or season 2 in general? I don't think they can. That's completely against the design philosophy of this game. Like the idea that they're going to have PvE content that isn't just going to be like a throwaway mode, that actually has like good design, like core design features to it, and like is going to make people want to like play it over and over again. I mean, I think they have to go to the drawing board for this. I think they could utilize like some rogue elements. I'm sure Lono would be in favor of that, to like maybe get people to. You're basically going to be doing the same thing over and over, right? So you have to have a hook of like what's going to get people to want to just go in and fight bots. I think that rogue elements would cause people to do that and give them that one more run feeling if you're not going online and having the thrill and the rush of like, trying to extract against other people. But like, do they have that ready to go for season 2? I don't think that's, I mean, it might come out towards the latter end of it, but that seems like a season 3 thing to me. I think right now they're trying to improve quality of life for the game so much that, I mean, obviously we've got the free-to-play week coming up for the launch of season 2. That blows, my prediction, Lono, about 10,000 people coming back or whatever out of the water. It's going to be much higher than that, and it would be obviously in bad faith for me to claim, oh, look, it's a lot of people. Like, yeah, it's going to be free. So they're going to try to match server slam numbers. Now, can they do that? I don't know. I think they'll be happy with like 70,000. And then I think the idea is just to improve quality of life and the like quality of the game enough for the launch of season 2, which they've been working on the entirety of season 1, and they're pushing out updates that will improve the game. Will it be enough? I don't know. But the idea is to bring people in. The idea is to show people, hey, this is what the game is. It's good. Like, here's why you should buy in. And then I think from that point going forward, they're going to try to expand upon what the offerings are going to be for a more diverse player base. I just think that the idea that they're going to have that ready to go in any short order is just kind of like a pipe dream. I mean, they've got to tell people that they're doing it because people are asking for it, but I don't think that we're going to see that content with any immediacy.
Again, this is just based on pure like anecdotes, but there are examples of like big games or big game modes getting up and running in a great way, in a successful way, in a very quick, surprising fashion. And there are examples of it not working at all, especially if you don't put the right amount of resources on it too. So it really all depends on the talent they have there. But I don't know, Alona, you were kind of getting at this morning too. Like, part of me wonders, or you were talking about it at least, but part of me wonders, like, what is the appetite? You know, again, Marathon Destiny. What is the appetite for in the gaming space overall for Destiny 3? Right? Is there space for it? I think yes, if it's replacing Destiny 2. But just from the cost involved to get in versus a marathon, which is, hey, we might have to cut the team. We might have to make Bungie a bit smaller, but let's start with smaller projects and focus on making those profitable. And then maybe do something smaller with the Destiny IP at a different point. Like, I don't know what the future holds at all.
Yeah, my argument was that PlayStation needs Destiny because they have live service aspirations. This would be another huge blemish on their track record of live service to acquire Bungie and watch the franchise die, for it to die under their watch. Now, I believe this is mostly Bungie's fault. They were the ones that spun up incubation projects. Pete Parsons' blog makes it clear that started in 2019. So from 2019 to 2024, there's a 5-year stretch of them seeding these incubation projects from Destiny leadership, and that hurt Destiny. That's what brought us to this point. So the idea that, like, well, demand for it's down and nobody would play it, they harmed their cash cow with bad decision making from Parsons. And I kind of ranted about this. They kind of forgot where they came from. They needed Vicarious Visions and High Moon Studios to even maintain good cadence for a couple of years there. They knew what it took to maintain a Destiny. They even told Naughty Dog, listen, you're going to have to change your studio if you want to launch a live service game. And they had the hubris to think they could seed a bunch of incubation projects with leadership from Destiny, and it wasn't going to harm the product. Well, it did, and it brought us to where we are. And I think PlayStation is going to take a bet either way. Bungie's operational costs, even if they shrink them down to like 500 to 600 people, that was actually their size when they shipped Destiny 1. If they shrink them down, because currently they're around 800, to that size, and a portion of the studio is working on Marathon, you know, the bet that they place is around $500 million for them to build Destiny 3. I think that bet is worth taking because all other bets are far more risky. New IPs, I don't think anybody wants new IPs from Bungie. They're going to be like, you let that franchise die. There's demand for it. The petition's closing in on 300,000 signatures. It's a 12-year running franchise. And if you watch like Josh Drive Hayes talk about MMOs, the incumbent's so hard to beat. Like, this is a long-standing franchise that I think people would come back to, especially if they go dead quiet for about 4 years. They're going to create a vacancy in the market that only they can fill. Nobody else has really managed to build this type of game successfully, although they've all tried. And that's an advantage in a saturated market. Like, the live service market's very saturated, and you're going to leave a vacancy that you can fill. And they've learned you shouldn't have single-player studios working on live service. Live service is expensive. And if they want to keep placing bets in live service, they have to back a Destiny 3. If they don't, I think their track record in live service will be so sullied at that point, watching this franchise die under their watch. Just stop even trying in live service at that point. Like, the shareholders would have a right to be like, what are you doing? Like, from Concord to now, your track record is just embarrassing. So I think it's on PlayStation. It's not PlayStation's fault that Bungie is where they are, but it's PlayStation's responsibility, I think, to protect the franchise, because all other bets, I think, will yield worse results. So
To piggyback off of that last point, I don't know if you'll agree with me on this, but my theory is that PlayStation wants to get out of live service as far as new development just completely. I think that's a product of the Jim Ryan era and sort of his business operations philosophy, that they were going to get into all these live service games. You've seen them publicly acknowledge that they need to get back to the single player core ethos that they had. I think the fact that Marathon was basically almost ready to go into, to be shipped, and that Fair Games is like far enough along. We don't know that that's going to make it over the finish line either. But it seems
not
like
Fair Games anymore. It's Break-In, right? That's what we know.
that's the theory.
Yeah. Until I know differently, I'm going to call it Fair Games. Nobody wants that game, but I think they'll probably try to put it out anyway. And then you've got the Horizon MMO, which I think they're going to try to make happen. But like, they canceled Last of Us Factions, when it was 80% done. They canceled that awesome looking Spider-Verse game that I think a lot of people would have played. they reportedly, I think this is more of a rumor, but they supposedly canceled a God of War like live service type game.
That's
You
what
see
Blue
all
Point was
these,
working on.
you see all these indications that like they don't want to back future live service projects. Like I don't think that we know of anything that isn't like already at least halfway or 2/3 into the development cycle that Sony is backing as far as live service like in-house or with their family of studios. So I think they don't want to do any new projects. I think if they did, then they would back Bungie to do Destiny 3. But I think the only reason that they're backing Marathon is because it's already out there, and it's like it's the Monty Python quote of like, I'm not dead yet. Like it's basically that.
I said what you were saying, Kirk. I said if PlayStation comes out and says we're backing off, which you could be correct, they could be signaling that we're returning to our core competencies. That is a dangerous threat to Bungie. Like that basically means Bungie, you're worth nothing to them at that point if they're not pursuing live service to the same degree. That's why they bought Bungie, to help with the Center for Live Service of Excellence. And that's a threat to anybody who's a fan of Destiny. I think Scrag was trying to say something there.
You had your hand raised.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, I make fun of people and I'm very abrasive on purpose because I feel like it helps me get my point across. It might not, but I do genuinely think, because I was a fan of Destiny 1 and a fan of Destiny 2 at the beginning before they started deleting the fucking stuff I paid for. Anyway, I genuinely do think that it needs a break. It needs a rest. And I don't know if the people at Sony are thinking about it in that way. Like, hey, let's give it a break. Let's give it a rest. Let's come back in 6 years, and then people will buy out the crap of it. Because if you look at the signatures, you have 300,000 signatures. I did the math. If everyone bought the collector's edition and $100 worth of microtransaction, of every single person that signed that petition and no more, you're only looking at like a $50 million. For Sony, that might be like, well, we're going to spend another 250, 300, 500 million on this. Is it worth it? And then you can extrapolate out like, okay, after that first month, 2 months worth of sales, assuming they do 1 million, yeah, it's a lot more, but it's still just a drop in the bucket. It's the same problem that Marathon has right now. They spent 250 million, which I said before, it's literally not my fucking problem. But anyway, people care about it, and Sony cares about it, I'm sure. They're the ones writing the checks. So you can extrapolate that out to a year, and it might be like, yeah, but we might just barely break even. So maybe right now, since they've already spent the money on Marathon, maybe they're just like, okay, let's pull back for a bit, come up with something really good, and then hire more people and go again. But I definitely just think that the response from the community so far, while understandable, I get it. I was kind of mad when one of my favorite games shut down a while back, but it's not up to you, man. Like it is up to you in terms of you're the consumer and that's what you want, but it's not your money. You gave them your money, right? And they can choose how to spend it. And if they choose not to spend it on something that you want, like me personally, I used to love PlayStation games. PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, freaking best PlayStation games ever, dude. Nathan Drake was sick. But you know what's not sick? Concord. Fair Games. So, Hunter's Gathering. I don't like those, but it's not my choice.
I think to that point, Kirk, you brought up an interesting topic, and I wouldn't even call it a theory. I think all indication does suggest that they are drastically cutting how they're investing into games as a service moving forward. And we all know the story with Jim Ryan, right? From 2022 to like 2024, they ended up going from like 20% of their funding to games as a service to over 50%, right? And what do they have to show for it? Buying Bungie and owning the Destiny IP and Helldivers 2. Everything else they threw at the wall was either
Which you could argue Helldivers 2 just kind of happened on its own and didn't have anything to do with all that in-house investment on Sony's part. They just kind of rolled a lucky number 7 on that one. So, well,
yes, yeah, I would agree with that. But I think to some degree, Sony put money into it. And they had a pedigree there, right? And it seems like everything else they created in terms of their organization and creating incentives for all these other studios to pursue games as a service failed miserably, right? If you don't have the core backbone as making those types of games, then it might not work. To that point, I don't think I've said this before. I don't think Sony was wrong to say we should try to get a games as a service. They see how much money they make on their platform, right? And games, well, I'll bring this up again. Money was cheap, right? 2022, early 2020s, you could get practically zero financing money. They took a lot of big bets and they failed. Even if they back out from this, what it does seem to be the case, it seems like they're putting a lot more money in their second and third party publishing and investing. Seems like they're trying to figure out what their first party cadence is going to be. I still see them looking at a Bungie as a valuable asset, and just what the magic that they got with the Helldivers 2 is a valuable thing as well. But I do think that they are going to be a lot more conservative because money isn't as cheap now too. So, and I agree with Scragg's what I would call slightly impassioned approach there. I don't think you were angry enough, but for me, when I talk about Destiny 2, I love the initial launch content. I thought this was a great way to onboard myself. I got in at the end of Destiny 1, so I wasn't there for any of that. I don't have the attachment, Kirk, that you clearly have. But when I would talk to like nephews and friends to get into Destiny 2, and they're like, well, what's it about? When you start the game without that launch content, even if that onboarding wasn't the best experience overall, I just felt like it really hurt that experience. And I mentioned this the other week. For me to go, well, to know what's happening in Destiny 2, you got to go watch this 5-hour YouTube lore video. Like, no, right?
Which is now privated,
Didn't that
by
guy
the way.
private the video because he's like, stop being mean to me about Marathon. Which
That's
I
not
mean,
what he
like,
said.
good on you, dude.
What did
not
he
what
say,
said.
Lono?
Mylan is attempting to display what he thinks is petty behavior with his own petty behavior. That's kind of his logic. I even reached out to him. I was like, I'd love to talk to you about it. He's not interested in discussing it further. Bife has videos out there if you guys want to watch lore videos. But you're right. My wife started a fresh character in Destiny 1, and I was struck by the tone and the nostalgia and the feels and the vibe of just starting a fresh character in Destiny 1. And to think that you can't do that in Destiny 2. You cannot start Destiny 2 and have the Red War experience and fight against Dominus Gaul and all that. Like that's not there. And that's weird. And I do think that harms it. I do think they were faced with an impossible decision. They had a contract obligation to Activision they were never going to be able to do. They were never going to be able to do another cycle of like shipping Destiny 3. I don't think people realize the small window they built Destiny 2 in. It was absurd. When the Taken King ships in 2015 and saves Destiny 1, they task Luke Smith with taking over Destiny 2. 2 years later, they ship Destiny 2. That is an insanely small window, especially with what we know about the Tiger engine being very not super agile and not super fast. So in a very small amount of time, they built Destiny 2. They were facing an impossible scenario. They were going to have to do the same thing again with Destiny 3. This is this cycle that Activision thought was possible, which wasn't. So they have to kind of plant their flag in D2. They start running out of room. They have to vault content. And I know everybody hates that they did that, but it was that or something else entirely, which would completely change the timeline we're in right now, right? So I think that's the main issue, is that they never really conceived of Destiny 2 living this long. The idea was we're just going to keep kind of like tent poling a new Destiny, and development reality settled and was like, that's not feasible. That's not possible. And that's very adjacent to what I want to say about PlayStation. They don't know what the heck they're doing in live service. So Kirk's like, Helldivers, they rolled a lucky number 7. Well, yes and no. You can tell by going back and listening to Herman Hulse interviews about this. They were going to place small bets. They weren't going to try to make a bunch of Fortnites. They were going to have different live service games in different genres. I think they saw smaller projects, smaller teams, and like, let's see which of these can hit. But you're doing that in an environment that is just laden with failure. Like live service games just fail left and right. And you're entering that market with a very almost naive expectation. Like Helldivers is sort of the exception to the rule that like a small team, small studio, small project, small budget gets massive returns. That is so unusual. I mean, Embark can probably say the same thing about Arc Raiders. That was not an expectation that I think that they had about their game. So PlayStation clearly doesn't get it. They had teams working on live service games that should not have been working on live service games. And if their posture going forward is, well, we're going to scrap and just completely back off, I fully support them backing off of live service because they don't know what the heck they're doing. To sit on a franchise like Destiny at this moment in the market and to not place that bet and to not give it the proper time and funding, I just, man, I think that's malpractice. I think that's absolute franchise malpractice. It's like, you guys have got to take a crack at this. This is the only way live service works. If you're not willing to do it, then get out. Stop trying.
But they have the data though, right? Like if the demand was there, they would see it in the data, wouldn't they? I mean, it's basically since Final Shape, the game hasn't been doing particularly well, probably across monetization, across monthly active users. I mean, like if they had data that showed that another Destiny would print money, they would make it. I truly believe that.
I don't think it's just about the demand, though. I think there's also the supply side with what the company could take on right now. And I think if you look at, well, we'll get to this topic here shortly, but like, look what's happening with Steam and hardware pricing. It's also software costs. It's also financing costs, right? It's a slightly different environment. And I think Sony's right now probably really focused on PS6 and shoring up the launch of that. And if anything, what they may be doing is doing some very, Bungie's pitching a lot of small ideas, and they might want to try to incubate something real small right now until they figure out what that financing path is to move forward with it. Because I agree. I think Sony's probably at a point now where they're like, all our small bets didn't work. Where we're at now is we have Bungie, right? We could do something with this. Let's shore up everything else and let's come back and revisit that. I don't think they're probably fully stopping. I think there's got to be some type of vision right now inside Bungie and Sony on what Destiny 3 could be, but it's very early. It's pre-production and nothing's even greenlit, right? I do think it comes down to just all the macro factors in the economy right now, software costs, right? I know we heard the news this week about people being surprised that Halo Collectors, whatever that remaster is being developed by outsourced resources. It's because development costs in the US are insane right now. And surprisingly enough, they're 20 to 40% cheaper in European countries as well. So there's so much going on that I think they're trying to figure out a lot of those pieces before they move forward. That would be my guess. Because I agree, Lono, you can't make a brand new MMO, a brand new game like this, and beat what you can get with an incumbent IP. All the players would come back. I would come back as well. I just don't think it happened.
For how long?
That's a good question. It can't be too long. I mentioned this earlier. Oh, go ahead, Lono.
I was going to say silence is their ally. Like Bungie needs to be out of the public eye. Like I would even spin Marathon off and put it under a different studio name. I think you want Bungie out of the public's eye for 3, maybe 4 years. You drop that trailer in 3 or 4 years after silence.
Is it shut up and don't tell us anything until Destiny 3 is ready? Or is it, why aren't you doing anything with Destiny 3?
Oh, they would have to say,
which one do you want?
No. They would have to say we're making Destiny 3, and then you go radio silent. That silence is your ally. Like you just have to be quiet. I think that's something Bungie struggles with. I think that's something PlayStation is maybe a little too good at, is saying nothing. Like they don't say anything, and then there's a potency to when the marketing finally shows up.
Can they make something else? Can they make can Sony have either Bungie or, I mean, you would think it would have been Blue Point, but they got rid of them. Whomever do like a Destiny 1 classic, I'll use your title, Reforged edition or whatever. Like why not, right? That would be poetic. Can they do that, and or can they also do like a smaller in Destiny universe, like think like Outriders or Borderlands or something, like more, it would be more live service than that, but like more like kind of cut out, like it has its own kind of, like think Outer Worlds versus Starfield, right? Like Outer Worlds is contained. I think that's the word I'm looking for, contained. Like a contained Destiny experience. Like would people be satisfied with this? Because like I think people are just not there. It's not computing to them. Like Destiny 3 is the like everything game. Like that, like when you think of Destiny 3, like it might as well be Elder Scrolls 6. Like it has to be this like
it's
omnipotent thing. People are like, I don't want Marathon, I want Destiny 3. Like literally in the chat like 5 minutes ago, and it's like, but what do you think Destiny 3 is going to be? And other people are saying, well, people fell off Destiny 2, but they want Destiny 3. What makes you think Destiny 3 wouldn't just be more of recent Destiny 2? Like, what is it about the number 3 that makes you think that this game would be good and compelling and you would want to play it. That costs money. That takes resources. That takes labor. Like that, they have made executive business decisions that they're not going to be able to supply and to produce this game. So then the question becomes, okay, but would you be satisfied if you care about this universe if like there were still projects in universe to give players a competent and compelling game? You know, whether it's you know, taking old content and repackaging. I mean, I think it's a slam dunk that, like you said, Scrag, that they already got rid of content, like to put that out in another form that's better.
Yeah.
This is objectively better.
D1
That seems like a
and
slam
D2
dunk because you can't play it.
One
Like-
game. Oh, I'd play the crap out of that, dude.
I think that's where they've got to go if cost is a serious obstacle to Destiny 3. I mean, Destiny 3 is not getting made, Lono. They're not. It's not
Well, so
anytime
quote-
Here's the
soon.
thing about
Well,
Destiny 3, though. I have a
listen.
question for both you guys. Both you guys know more about Destiny 2 than me, for sure. Okay.
And Lono knows more than me. I'll be very clear about that.
Who is there left to fight?
They could make something up, dude.
Haven't they pretty much written themselves into a corner? Like, we've killed literally everything. So, like, where do we go from there, right?
Somehow,
Maybe they need some time.
Palpatine return. That's all I gotta say.
The
Like,
Dark
just-
Traveler.
Just end the podcast now if you're going to say that. No, if
The Dark Traveler.
to quote Walter White, the great poet, no more half measures. No more half measures. Do it. Do it right. That's why Destiny 3 could be successful. They've never had a chance to build Destiny the appropriate way. Destiny 1 was so chopped up, barely got across the finish line. Destiny 2 was having to be produced while maintaining Destiny 1. They had to bring in High Moon. They had to bring in VV for support studios and parallel development. No more half measures. Fund the game and build it properly. I would even get out a Tiger engine. That's Marathon's greatest challenge. I wanted to talk about this earlier when you guys were talking Marathon about like PvE. The PvE experiment showing up mid-season. The reason they can't just pull a ripcord and be like, here's PvE. Tiger is so slow. It's not agile. Anytime they have a significant problem, what do? They disable the thing. They close the door. They make the weapon no longer available because they cannot react quick enough. Tiger is not an engine that is adequate for live service. You need something with agility for fast changes, iterations, updates, new content, what have you. If they got the right amount of funding and the right amount of time, engine, and again, we need new leadership. Let's make the game they've never really truly been able to make. The lore and the reservoir of ideas and the treasure trove of data that they're sitting on, it's just, to me, I don't know, it's just malpractice to not do this the right way with everything that they have and everything that they've known and learned with a 12-year live service franchise.
But is this decision not them telling you and the rest of the community we don't have those things? Like you just said, with the right leadership, with the right engine, with the right funding, like are they not saying, hey, we can't do that, so we're not going to make it? Like, is that not what they're telling you? I mean,
Parsons' blog ensured that nothing would be greenlit by PlayStation. Like, PlayStation was not going to hand them a $500 million publishing deal for Destiny, given everything that had happened. You have misconduct. You got Chris Barrett. You got stolen artwork, misconduct, mismanagement of the studio, incubated studio projects with leadership from Destiny that kills their cash cow. You do not hand a publishing deal to that studio at that point in time.
I'll add this kind of analogy. Hearthstone wasn't greenlit for like 6 years or 5 or 4 years, and they were developing it for a very long time. It wasn't until it got to a certain point where Activision Blizzard was like, yeah, okay, we're finally greenlighting this project, right? And then it moved forward. So it's just all about how they approach it with the resources internally. I want us to pivot a bit because I can keep the show going as long as you guys want, but if I was to summarize, Kirk, you're blaming all gamers for the Destiny 2 issue. Lono is properly calling out the fact that Destiny's roots were granted in this kind of idea of a 1, 2, 3, 4 Activision contract, and now they might be able to do something bolder and bigger. And Scrag, you are just a huge fan of all of the content lockups. Is that a good summary of the Bungie conversation?
Don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
I think you were the kindest to me somehow.
Well, I'm paraphrasing chat. Chat seems to love your takes a lot, and I enjoy them too. But I want to switch to a conversation. Your dogs are in the house now. You might want to let them out again. No, I want to switch to the conversation around Steam and the Steam Deck price increases. What's everyone's take so far on what's going on there?
I sent in a ticket to Valve or Steam, and I said verbatim, these price changes are lame, and you know it. And do you want to know what their response was?
Did they respond?
We know, and we're sorry. Here's our blog post about it.
That's a great PR response right there. I mean, yeah,
That was paraphrased, of course, but that's basically what they said. And like, I actually am really upset about it because I can no longer go, listen, Xbox fanboy, this little handheld has more games than your Xbox. I can't do that anymore. I can't because they're not going to spend $980 on a little handheld. They got an Xbox. I can't tell the PlayStation guy, hey, look, you're complaining about no games. Just get one of these. Hundreds of thousands of games. Can't do that anymore because guess what? Costs more than a PlayStation 5 Pro. Doesn't make sense.
This
And
is
it
the
sucks.
fourth horseman of the apocalypse as well, right? Like Switch, Xbox, PlayStation, and now Steam have all gone up. So it's just across the board. Everything has increased by like $100 to $150. Yeah, I mean, it sucks.
250, 300.
Yep.
Dang,
it's a 40% increase, right, for the Steam
Yeah.
Deck.
almost
I-
100% if
Yep.
you count the original LCD.
Yeah, I am. Listen, obviously, we're not economists, right? Kirk's
Okay,
a lawyer.
hold on. I have to address something.
Okay.
Hey, Fivehead, I brought you up here to speak to you about something. Steam and Valve are a platform where you can buy games from all developers and publishers, not Valve. Okay, we can go on.
I like this energy Scragg's bringing today. I think your mom should get stung by bees more often, only if it works out for the best of everyone's health. I again, all the price increases aside, everyone knows it's largely related to memory costs and all that stuff. I'm hearing mixed things. People saying 2027 might be better. Some people are saying it's the opposite. I'm under the impression, and maybe let me know if I'm off base here, that we're seeing the biggest impact with Steam specifically because they lack the economies of scale and they don't have the history and supply chain of doing hardware, which really makes me worried for the Steam machine. Because right now, this being a new product, right? They're not using brand new parts, but still depending largely upon the same supply chain that Steam has. Like, what do you guys think it's going to do to the Steam machine pricing?
It's going to be awful.
I don't necessarily believe that thing is happening. They've been talking about that thing for 15 years. They've been saying that thing was going to get made for 15 years. Like,
Well, I mean, technically, it's already happened. You can build
What do you
one
mean they announced
in
it?
your room.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Technically,
it'll be more
happened.
money. It'll cost more money than it costs to have a mansion or whatever. Like, $1,500.
I think it sucks. I mean, I got accused of defending, PlayStation when they raised their prices, but I said historically you had to look at the earnings calls. They tried to not raise prices as long as they possibly could. Like last year, they were saying we have stock short up in America. They had considered, Hiroki Totoki talked about, they were considering bringing production to America. So you got to think about the ramifications of a Japanese company saying, yeah, we might take production to America. Like, you don't bring production here. It's expensive. You take production to other countries where cost of living and wages are significantly lower. And so the fact that they were considering that is they were like, we don't want to raise the price. They know if they raise the price, it kills or harms demand. And so Steam, Valve, they have got to be staring at this thinking, we had no idea this was going to happen. I mean, you had the RAM crisis, and then the war comes in and says, we're just going to make things worse. And, because now you've got shipping lanes shut down, gas prices going up. That affects everything. And so, because PlayStation didn't even want to raise their price this year until after the holidays. They were on record saying, we have enough RAM shored up to basically avoid it, because I think they didn't want to affect demand going into GTA 6 and Call of Duty. Finally, now you have two Leviathans that are not landing on the PS4, and they've had to raise their prices so much, and it was the war. I think that got lost in the fray. Everybody thought, wait, you guys had memory short up. They do. They're now facing production being affected by shipping costs. So it's like everybody's being affected by this. So Valve, Xbox, Nintendo, all of them, they're facing the same realities of, we don't want to raise our prices, but they have to, and it will affect demand. And the Steam machine, I don't know. They might even have to bump it to next year. I don't know if it could
If
come
they
out this year.
like, honestly, I was game for a delay when the AI price hike on RAM started earlier this year and end of last year. I was like, they should delay it. And honestly, if they cannot sell it for less than $800 for the base model, they should delay it. And I don't think they can, because they already have the stuff on the way. And I'm pretty sure they already paid for the RAM. So I think it's coming, and I think it's going to be way too expensive. And most of the people who wanted to buy it are just not going to, including me.
Yeah, I was always on the fence for it, mainly because I don't have a strong consumer attachment to Steam. I play on it when I play PC games, but I'm mainly a console gamer. I enjoy sitting on my couch and relaxing. And I've always wondered, what was their play here, right? What was their, because this is a big risk for them. And I don't think, if the Steam machine does come out at $1,000, or if they decide to cancel it or whatever, I don't think it's going to do a lot of long-term damage to the loyal customers of Steam. I think they'll be at Steam no matter what. But I wondered about, I'm like, what is their rationale for taking this risk and to essentially pivot into that market of, we want to almost expand our audience and reach people that aren't necessarily playing on computer. Scrag, I'll go to you right now, but my thought was, well, they're kind of seeing the writing on the wall that gaming is getting more expensive, and maybe they need to start offering a lower cost point of entry to people, aka akin to like making an affordable hardware, like home console too. And I almost feel like that rationale doesn't exist now. Scrag, go ahead.
Okay, so first to address, yes, Paul's Gaming Live. I don't think it's a risk. People are going to buy it regardless. I will not buy it if it's more than $1,000 for sure. But there are people that I know that know nothing about computers in real life, like people I know in from Magic stores and stuff like that. Magic, the card game, not like not tricks. But that are like, dude, I think I'm gonna buy a Steam machine.
Cooler.
Do you know anything about it? Could you help me? Can you help me set it up? And I'm gonna be like, yeah, dude. But like, so I think that their push to be like, hey, let's enter the plebeian space. I mean that is a joke. I don't literally think people who play on consoles are plebeians or low IQ. Sorry for the joke earlier, the whatever earlier. I'm not serious. But I think it did work. They did get people interested who they wanted to be interested, which is the people who don't want to build a computer.
I mean,
in my real life, what do you call it? Subjective experience. I have met at least 5 or 6 people that are like console peasants. It's a joke. Who have asked me about the Steam machine or a Steam Deck in the last 6 months.
I don't think you're lying.
A little.
I believe you, but yeah, I still think like the average gamer is not online. They don't have the hardcore exposure we have to. And I do think Steam would face what I would call a brand equity issue if they really did try to get into that space, and also supply issue, right? Because it's not just about making the product affordable. It's also putting the product where people still buy stuff, right? At Walmarts, at Targets, at Best Buys. I don't know what else is out there on the West Coast, maybe BJ's or something like that, which is a funny name to me. But I always kind of wonder, like, is it a successful strategy for them? Because everyone that I talk to that knows about the Steam machine also have a PC. And at this point, I think if you're looking at Project Helix versus Steam Machine, I think Project Helix is probably going to be very expensive, but I think Microsoft has the economies of scales and capital to basically absorb price shock a lot stronger than a Steam can. So I wouldn't be too surprised if the rumors of like a $1,200, $1,100 Helix don't change much from that. Don't think it will be successful, but I don't think their point is to sell 70 million Project Helixes either. Kirk, I hear you.
Real quick.
Go ahead.
Yes, just because I reiterated similar points to Lono means I'm an idiot and I wasn't listening. Anyway, moving on. I was reading chat. They're being
smart. I think they're having their
They don't like me because I called them
circus
low IQ
argument
earlier.
in chat, actually. Yeah, I mean, I think that's where the trust in the brand comes in. Like, I think the reason, I guess, that Valve and Steam would want to get involved in this space is like that Microsoft is having to move toward a more PC centric machine anyway, and Microsoft is not a brand that has a tremendous amount of trust or momentum behind it. So whereas Valve, Steam, like people literally like refuse to use another platform and
Yeah,
launcher.
like Epic Games
So
will not use it.
yeah, so like I think
Ever.
I mean, not literally, but I think this was kind of a move to kind of take over Xbox's market share. Again, not literally, but I think in essence they maybe saw vulnerability in the current sort of pie chart of the market, and with the pull that Valve has, was thinking that they could maybe make a play here. Now, as far as the investment costs and sunk costs and things like that in terms of like the actual manufacturing and production of this product, that's just not something that I'm knowledgeable enough to speak to. I do think that the realities of that are basically catching up to everybody at the same time. So it'll be as logistically possible for them, I guess, as it would be for anyone else. But I do think it's an interesting play because, like you said, it's an unnecessary one. But I mean, we were talking about making bets earlier. I mean, I guess if you are already successful as a platform, why not try to sell some hardware? Like if you can, and why not try to edge a competitor out? Which is interesting that it's Microsoft are their competitor, but they're also the platform for their platform. So there's some interesting dynamics going on there. But
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. Unless, Lono, you have anything else to add to the conversation, I thought we could maybe spend a little bit more time about games actually as well in terms of what we're playing.
Yeah, my only final thought is that I think the situation that has caused this, both Microsoft and Valve are probably looking sort of down the barrel of, we weren't going to scale very large for either of these projects. Like I don't think Helix was going to be scaled to the degree of like, if they sell 10 million units, I think they'll probably be pretty happy. Because their hardware demand is not great, and this is going to be a higher priced item. These are going to be more niche items, I feel, like Steam Machine as well. And I don't think Valve or Microsoft were anticipating doing large scale production. This just wasn't I don't think the goal. That makes this doubly problematic for them, because when you're not scaling that large, that makes it even more difficult on your per unit cost of anything you're purchasing if these things continue to go up. So I don't know what the future holds for Helix or Steam Machine with respect to pricing or timing, but I would not be surprised if both companies are looking at an e-break to be like, let's just stop and wait, because we've even heard Hiroki Totoki spoke to that with PlayStation 6. Like, we don't know. We don't know the timing. The entire market is in flux right now. So
yeah, and I'll just add this. I'm glad you pronounced his name the same way I did, because I often mispronounce a lot of things, Leno. And when I did a video recently on PlayStation, I pronounced it that way. And I was like, oh, that's probably terribly wrong. It's way too fun to say it that way. But I'm going to trust you. You're right. I'm right. Yeah, it's an interesting feature for gamers. Everything's great. Scrag is happy. So it's all going to work out. Okay, so let's pivot a bit more in terms of like, okay, 007's out. Who's played it? What's the latest on this game? Lono, I think you're the only one here. Maybe
it's all Lono, yeah.
It's awesome. It really is. The way they handle the tutorial is excellent. It feels like a movie montage, but it's still a tutorial. And they're also like establishing the lore of like Bond and his team. And it's vibes. Like the game is just vibes. Like I feel like Bond. The thing that surprised me the most is the hand-to-hand combat and the shooting feels so good. And some of those first outings, I was like, the game looks a little rough. And then to its credit, I told folks, I was like, the more we saw of this game, the better it looked. I was like, they're really impressing me. And it's landed, I think it's a game of the year contender. I think it'll be potentially a nominated game in that category. The score, the praise it's getting, it is just excellent. And I think the main thing people are kind of bristling against is, if you wanted it to be very heavy Hitman, it's not. The Hitman elements are there, but you're not Hitman, you're James Bond. And if you wanted it to be like super actiony Uncharted, it's not going to be enough. This is squarely kind of in the middle of those two games, and I think that's what makes it so great. It feels original. I don't feel like I'm playing like an Uncharted ripoff. I don't feel like I'm playing Hitman wearing James Bond suit. It feels like its own game. And the scenes, the direction, the writing are so excellent. I also feel like the movie quality of it is spot on. It's at the caliber of like a PlayStation Studio story. Like when you play like a Naughty Dog or a Santa Monica game, I'm like, these guys have secured themselves, I think, more games. We might not see a Hitman game for a while because they're going to be making Bond games. I think they did an excellent job.
I'm so happy for that design choice as well. Like as an enormous Hitman supporter, as somebody that really loved Blood Money, Absolution, and the entire trilogy of games that they made in the last decade, that thinks that the trilogy in its like current form that you can buy just as one game, World of Assassination, is like, I mean, other than the Metal Gear Solid games, like probably the best stealth game ever made. Like, I mean, it just like I'm like that is high praise. I understand, and even still, I'm so glad like that. You know, I've heard you say this now and others, Lona, that like it's not a Hitman clone, and I'm like, oh my god, thank God, because you can't make Bond a Hitman clone, and that was like the one thing that I was the most worried about when they were announced to make James Bond is I was like, I love Hitman, but if they make just Hitman with a James Bond skinned over it, like people are not gonna like that. It's not gonna feel the way that James Bond should feel. And it's like, dude, this guy, I didn't think that this guy, like he had some like Cal Kestis energy. I don't know if that makes sense to you, like what I'm going for there, but like I didn't know if he was gonna feel like Bond. And like the fact that people are like saying like they want this guy Patrick Gibson, I think is his name, to be like Bond like in the movies after playing this, that just shows you that they freaking nailed it. If this guy feels so much like Bond to people that they're like, oh, just put him in the movie. Like when he like, I didn't think the casting like worked. Like that to me just says like this game just oozes cool, man. And I see it in the clips, I see it in everything online. Like just the way that like he walks into a room and like the music swells like super classic, you know, Bond film style, and his swagger is his swarmy way of talking to people. Like I can't wait to get in this. I feel like they really did their homework, it looks like, and they really said, we want you to, I mean, it's like the age old like meme of IGN of like makes you feel like Batman. They wanted you to feel like James Bond. And I love the fact that that this studio that like I've considered like pretty much a sort of a smaller scrappy studio, IO, you know, from a part of Europe that, you know, we don't necessarily see a ton of games coming out of. You know, it's kind of like the Silent Hill story of a Bloober. Like they took on an IP that maybe was like a bit ambitious for them, and they were like, we're gonna do our homework. We're going to nail this, like in an irrefutable, undeniable way. And it looks like they knocked it out of the park. And I'm so happy for them that they were able to do that.
Well, and just one last thing. They didn't neuter it at all either. Like you might have seen clips of like, there's a particular clip floating around of a girl swimming. She gets out of the pool. I mean, they're not holding back. Like this is Bond. And he's like, there's going to be beautiful women. He's going to charm them up. I mean, that they didn't hold back in that department either. And I know people are like, oh, they're going to make it, you know, they're woke or whatever. That is, they did not hold back in that department. And, I think that's probably to their credit because that's James Bond. Like that's, you know, that's okay to have characters like that.
One more thing I forgot, Scrag, just to wrap this up is Hitman. The gunplay's always felt like a little bit wonky. Like it's always been like a little bit stiff. Like it's not bad, but it's always been like very Hitman. I don't know how to describe it other than that. It doesn't feel like a really good gunplay third-person shooter. And like everything I've seen of this and every reaction that people have said is like that the gunplay is like excellent and the hand-to-hand is excellent. So like for them to graduate from like, if you watch Hitman content, it looks kind of goofy, and like that's always been like a kind of design of it, like the way that he shoots people, the way that he throws things at people's heads, the way that he punches people. Like it's almost kind of goofy where he's like this stiff, very stern guy that like, you know, is like like he has no personality, and then like all of a sudden, you know, somebody recognizes him and he's just like bop, 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 and the guy like falls over, he's knocked out or whatever. Like it's very stiff, it's very calculated, and that's just like part of like the kind of Hitman goofy design, because these games come from like the PS2 era where like it was just gonna look goofy no matter what, and so they've carried that forward like a little bit. So like to see that this gunplay like mirrors something more like Uncharted, and the hand-to-hand combat mirrors something more like Batman Arkham is like, dude, this game looks awesome, and it's such a step up, such a graduation and evolution for that team to go from what they made in the Hitman games to doing just 007 to the max.
So that kind of addresses my question, but I was going to ask Lono, is it that alcohol abuse and banging broads Bond, or is it the getting whipped in the nuts in a chair Bond?
Yeah, he's arrogant. He doesn't like authority. I mean, they don't even waste time in the tutorial. He's hitting on the receptionist. They jump in bed. Like they don't, and I don't think they're gonna go further than what most classic Bond movies do, where like they're beautiful, like they're wearing like maybe like a bikini or something, but they're not like it's not like they're showing you
like
these scenes.
peak 80s 90s Bond.
Yeah, it's basically
it's
like
very much
Brosnan
has
Craig,
those vibes.
right? It's basically like
What's
Brosnan Craig kind of feel.
He really strikes me as like the Brosnan era, like they're like making it clear, like eventually him and Moneypenny, like they're like they're not getting along early on, but then like he's hitting on Moneypenny in the Brosnan era. So,
And dude, those classic PS2 games in the Brosnan era, like Nightfire and Everything or Nothing, like that was the golden age, I think. Obviously, other than GoldenEye, of the Bond games. So like, if they're nailing like that atmosphere, I think that's all like Bond loving gamers want, dude. And I think that's why this game's getting such a great reaction.
I think just go ahead, Scrag.
Well, I was gonna say also too on Kirk's note about Hitman versus James Bond. I definitely feel that from the Hitman games, but in terms of the shooting, you're mentioning how like the shooting's never been super crisp in Hitman, and I do think, to your point, that it is supposed to reflect that Hitman's kind of a robot, and the game itself doesn't want you to rely on like shooting people in the head from 50 meters away while running. It wants you to rely on poisoning the cocktail and then giving it to the waiter, who's going to collapse and knock the other person off the balcony into the diving board, which is going to break and shoot into the guy that you actually want to kill.
Which I was so worried that they were going to do that type of stuff. And it's like, Bond doesn't do that, dude. Bond is like a badass. So I love that you're not, I mean, I'm sure they'll do some, like, Lona, have you had any, like, very crafty ways of, like, taking a target out? Like, I don't know, like, causing an accident, like a chandelier to fall or something, and getting somebody, or, like, something that's very, like, sneaky and, like, could have been, like, a act of God type deal, but you, like, disguised it? Or is it all just, like, Bond kicking ass and taking names type stuff?
It's a little less like, what are those things where they record it and all the steps lead to something? A Rube Goldberg machine? Is that what they call it?
Yeah. Exactly.
So like I know Hitman kind of gets into that, where like you're doing almost like chain reaction stuff, and it's very thoughtful. This is a little bit more simplistic. Like, you hit a guy with something that makes his stomach upset and he gets out of your way, or you might knock a chandelier down onto like a group, like you kind of wait for them to get together. It is going to be, I think, a little bit more simplistic, like, like baby's first Hitman kind of a thing. Not in a bad way. But yeah, I think it's a little bit more simplistic in that regard, which again, I think I was talking to this about my wife. My biggest criticism of the game is the loading screens. Some of the sections feel a little trial and error because there's a ton of people and you've got to get this like key card at one point. And it's just Bond. Like you're not Sam Fisher. You're not the agent from Hitman. So like you're going to probably have a tough time. The only thing that's problematic is when you fail, like the loading screens are a bit of a bummer. It's just like a black screen. You're just kind of like sitting there like, oh, well, I got to sit here and wait. And they're kind of long. But when you finally pull it off, there's something that does feel very like emergent, like, whew, barely pulled that off, that I think is conducive to the story of Bond. Like a lot of the times when he pulls these things off, it does feel very skin in your teeth, very like, oh, wow, that actually freaking worked. And I like that. I just wish the loading screens weren't so long so that when you do fail and you're kind of trial and erroring a section where there's lots of people, that you could kind of like get right back in and try again. But I do feel like it's very emergent when I pull something like that off. It feels like, oh, wow, that probably didn't go the same way for everybody that played that section.
Do you think that would be a pretty big quality of life barrier as far as playing on the hardest difficulty? I assume you're playing on like the middle. I think it's intended is what it's called.
Yeah, I'm just playing on intended. Yeah.
Do you think those loading screens, like if I were to play on the hardest difficulty, would be like if I really wanted to trial and error a level and like do it, I don't know, 8-9 times before I did it successfully, like that would be kind of rough?
It's a vibe kill because they're long. They really are. Like in this day and age, it's
problem.
In this day and age, it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird to just have like a long black screen loading screen. I mean, I'm on the Pro. The game looks beautiful on the Pro, but the loading screens feel like I'm getting like shot back in time. I'm like, what is going on?
Even on performance mode, it doesn't help.
No, I don't. Yeah, what it probably is there's so many NPCs that kind of have to like reset and go back to their places, and like all the possible amalgamations of gameplay probably have to everything. It's like you're resetting a chessboard. That would be my guess as to why it takes so long. Because it is pretty dense. You're in areas sometimes, and I mean there is just people everywhere, which is cool. It's got a great vibe. It doesn't strike me as, and that was probably difficult for them to not just like rest on their laurels as a Hitman dev, to just make it very Hitman. You very much feel like a young James Bond, barely getting away or barely sneaking by. The hand-to-hand is so fun too. Like there's something very punchy and visceral about it. It feels like I'm in in like a Harrison Ford movie where like the punches feel like they're actually getting punched. You're like, oh gosh, that hurts. Not
I know
like
what you mean. Yeah.
not like John Wick. John Wick, you're like, oh my gosh, everybody's getting punched like 85 times and they're okay. Like this feels like, oh gosh, he slammed that dude's head into the glass, and like it's great. It's got a very visceral feel to it.
Didn't they get like somebody for combat that did work on Batman Arkham? Or am I
Yeah, the guy he comes from Arkham. Yeah, you're not making that up. All right. Well, I mean, this sounds exciting, and I think just looking back at the conversation with Scrag talking about getting whipped in the testicles and Kirk saying the word stiff like 17 times. Maybe just a casual reminder for our sponsor of hims.com/the Gaming Roundtable. With that,
we actually have a sponsor.
No, but maybe it works. I don't know.
If we just keep saying it, it might manifest. Who knows?
Manifest your own destiny, right? Yeah. Okay. Well, it's 2:19, and this has been a really fun conversation. I do want to go around the table and do this typical shtick about what you're playing. So let's start with Lono, then we'll do top to bottom little circle action right there. So besides Bond, what are you playing this weekend, Lono?
Yeah. Bond's when I'm playing by myself. I am playing through Lego Batman with my wife. We finished Dead Zone Rogue. We really liked that. Unfortunately, Lego Batman's the biggest criticism is the co-op. It drops the FPS to 30, which doesn't feel necessary for a Lego game on the Pro. And it would be great if it was online. Like if we each had our full screen, like playing, because it is so good. It is such a great game. It's literally like if the Batman Arkham team decided to make a Lego game. Like that's literally what it feels like. And it's just got this charm, this self-awareness. I love it. As someone who grew up watching the Batman TV show, I'm literally driving around in the Batmobile from the TV show. I have this on my desk. I wasn't planning on doing this. I actually have the original Matchbox car of
That's awesome.
I can't get it to focus, stupid camera. I have it. And so it's like I'm driving around in that. It's so nostalgic and so fun. And somebody said it reminds, was it you, Mark? Like Naked Gun, like the self-awareness and humor.
A G-rated Naked Gun narrative. Yeah.
Yeah, it has that funniness to it where like it's winking at you a lot. Like, yeah, you get it, we're being silly here. Like I like that. I think it's enjoyable. And my wife and I are having fun in spite of like the frustrations with it's a little at that 30 FPS and the crampedness of the camera at times, but we're clearing the map and unlocking secrets and stuff. We're having a really good time with it.
Is it just the frame rate is capped, or like does the game run poorly as well? Because I remember I had a problem that sounded, I think, much worse than that with Borderlands 3, trying to play with my girlfriend at the time. And like the game was really, really fun, but like the menus, like everything down to the menus would lag terribly in co-op in that game. So is it just the fact that it's capped and you would prefer a higher frame rate, or does the game actually kind of chug?
The game doesn't chug. I don't feel like she'll open these chests and then tons of studs come out. When she does that, it can get a little framey. You're like, whoa, that's that you're not like in a fight and doing that. In the fights and solving the puzzles and different things, I haven't noticed anything. And since it's only like half of the screen and your FOV's limited, the frame rate it's weird for me to say this, the 30 FPS is more tolerable because of the style and because of the limited view. Online co-op would fix all this. I don't know if they're going to do it, but online co-op would fix it. It's like you just play online, which obviously people that are limited to local wouldn't benefit from that. But man, oh man, would that be a great update.
Very cool. Very cool. Kirk, what are you playing?
I want to get into Lego Batman. I pre-ordered it to get like the special suits or whatever, and I've even been watching the the old Tim Burton movies, like to get ready for like some of the references and stuff. Great movies, by the way, especially the first one. I mean, just absolutely iconic, the way that they built that setting out, sort of as a rebrand, and influenced the animated series that clearly Lono and I both hold very, very dearly. Yeah, like my first thought when I really started to see previews from that game was like, dude, if this game had come out when I was a kid, I would have played nothing else from like the ages of 9 to 13. Like this game is like literally it's like a gift from God or something. Like like if I had a kid, dude, oh my God, like that game literally looks like perfection in terms of like the ultimate kid Batman experience. So I'm gonna try to reward my inner child and sink some time into that. Other than that, I've been playing Marathon and helping my buddy Jim Tasty. Go give him a follow on Twitch. Try to get the final achievement for Marathon, get to level 100 before the end of the season. So I've been grinding with him. And lastly, as everybody who follows me in any capacity, especially on Reforged, knows, I'm a huge Ubisoft shill. So I've been playing, you guys are not going to believe this, I've been playing For Honor. For Honor had an Assassin's Creed crossover event recently where they introduced a lot of like Assassin's Creed Shadows characters and contents to the game, and like a bunch of Ezio stuff and stuff like that. And lo and behold, they give me the battle pass for being a creator, like in their creator network for each season. So I was like, you know what, I might actually use that thing. So I grinded the Assassin's Creed event, and then I was like, you know, a third of the way to the battle pass. So I was like, you know what, why don't I just max this baby out? And For Honor, still really good game in its 10th year. Very surprising. Combat's still really good, runs, you know, great on the new systems, and has like queue times aren't terrible. I thought their Marathon might have worse queue times than For Honor, to be totally honest, which is kind of saying something. But yeah, I've been enjoying that, and yeah, I mean, there's two really great games that just came out this week or I guess Batman was last week, but in Batman 007. But I want to find the time because both of them look really, really awesome.
Awesome. Scrag, from what I gather, you're probably playing a lot of Destiny 2 right now, right? Is that accurate?
Oh, no, that's not accurate. I did try to play actually like a month or two ago when Marathon came out. But I didn't like it. Anyway, yeah. What am I playing? I am playing some Final Fantasy 14 still, but just very little. I'm on the second. I'm going to be playing Marathon Season 2. We'll see how that goes. I might not stick through the season this time just because I'm way busier this time around. And then I'm going to try the new Path of Exile season tonight.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Marathon's one of those games that the chat here basically bought for me, and then Brian bought for me, and I still haven't played. So if Brian's listening, or if any of you here want to drag me into Marathon, please do, because I need a reason to try to play that game.
Next week is the week starting on Tuesday, if you were ever going to try it, because everybody will have access to it that doesn't own it, and it will be the easiest time to ever get into it. Because if you were to play after that, it's going to be people that are acclimated to it, that play it all the time. That's the biggest barrier to entry for that game, is that like the people that are playing it play like nothing else, literally. I mean, so I'm really, really hoping that the free week goes well for them. Lono and I sort of went back and forth on this in a different episode, as far as like, I believe they will get turnout. Will they keep those people? I'm not super confident. I think that they'll post really good numbers next week, and I hope that they, you know, show those people something that makes them want to stay, because I want the game to do well, and I think it's a good game. I'm definitely going to be on playing that week, because I just think it's, you know, a good time to play. I'm going to be trying to, you know, get some friends of mine that didn't buy the game, that I'm not going to try to ask to buy the game without being able to jump in and experience, because I don't think it's a game for everyone, to jump on and try it. I just think next week is very make or break for the game, and is very make or break in terms of like, if people want to play, now's the time to just check it out. You basically got, you know, no risk, nothing to lose, and hopefully they'll put the game on sale, so that people, I think that would incentivize people to buy it if they took it down to about 30, 32. I think they would actually move some units there if people get to try it out, and they're like, oh, it's on sale right now. Okay, I'll buy it. I kind of want to play more of that. I think that maybe could be good for them. So I'm hoping they get numbers next week and that it's not all doom and gloom after that.
Yeah, I'm sure they feel the same exact way. For me though, I just platinum Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight. Took me about 30 hours. It's very fun. I platinumed 4 games in the last 30 days, which I don't know how I feel about that overall, but I'm doing a video on it. Saros was one of them, and I think that might have been my most fun in terms of just the gameplay loop there. So I think I bought 007 First Light. Everything I'm hearing from you, Lono, Kirk, I know you didn't play it, but just your observations makes me excited because I am not crazy about the Hitman game, mainly because I don't have the patience for those types of games. I'm not saying it's a bad game. I'm saying it's a good game. It's not for me. So this being an interesting mix between Uncharted and Hitman, I think sounds perfect for me. So I'm hoping to play that. And I recently reinstalled Destiny 2 on my PC because I thought, you know what? This is one of those games I've definitely spent a lot of hours in. I don't have the attachment a lot of the people seem to have to it, and I never played the final shape. So I saw they're making the final shape free now though, come June 9th, and I kind of like playing Destiny on my PC. So I'm debating on if I buy it and just give Bungie some money. Maybe I'll be the one that says, you know what, we just made this sale, Destiny 3 greenlit. I doubt that's the case. But that's kind of my plans for the weekend, that and hanging out with my kid. I will say this, Lono and Kirk, Batman the Animated Series, some of the best animated television ever, without a doubt. I still go back and rewatch that, and I can't wait to rewatch it with my son because now that he's watched me play Lego Batman, he now goes around saying, I'm Batman. And I, of course, encouraged him to do that, but he had a blast watching that game. It's definitely Arkham Light Lego Edition, like I said, with that, like even my wife, who doesn't care about games at all, she was working last night while I was playing it, and there was a funny moment with Bane, who is voiced by the guy from In the Shadows, the funny British guy. I don't know his name.
There's a few of those.
You
Not
really
that
are
many.
the most devious man in New York City. That guy.
Yeah, that guy. There's, I don't know, the British
What
people
is
that are
his
funny.
name?
They're still too British for
Matt
me to know their
Berry.
name. That's
Matt
it.
Berry.
Matt Berry does Bane, and yeah,
Wow.
there were moments where even my wife caught it, and she was cracking up while work. So it was a fun game. I recommend it. Not a long game. Like I said, it only took me 30 hours to platinum, and that's doing all the stuff. You could do it quicker too. So I think that's it for me,
Might
though.
have
Does
to do
anyone?
that, yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else have anything to add for the gaming roundtable for the week?
I was gonna jump in on that D2 stuff. That update looks really, really cool. But honestly, I realize that my personal nostalgia is for Destiny 1. That's where my heart really lives. I was there pretty much every step of the way for that game, and don't regret it at all. Destiny 2 just it didn't really land for me. So Destiny 1 will kind of always be the special one, and I assume that kind of the monuments of triumph will be mostly centered around Destiny 2 because that's the game that it's in. And then the other thing is like this controversy, man. Like it just sort of soured me completely from wanting to go back. So I
Talking
I'll
about the
definitely,
fan base controversy, or
yeah, like I'll definitely keep rocking with Marathon instead.
Yeah, it
because
definitely
I
has
haven't
that
played
effect.
Destiny 2 in many years since Shadowkeep, and there's a reason for that. So I was thinking about coming back because it's a franchise that I care about, but yeah, the public discourse around it sort of soured me, and I think it's souring a lot of people. So I hope that we can, why can't we just all get along, as they say?
Well, yeah, I
I have
think.
one-
Go ahead,
sorry.
Square.
I was gonna say I have one thing to add. This is purely an ad for us, kind of. If you are a 14 enjoyer and you would like to join me and Chrono and possibly Mark at some point eventually in the future, if you join the Ginger Prime Discord, we can coordinate the FC that we're making for this. So
Yeah. Final Fantasy 14 is one of those games where I would have no emotion besides slight joy if it disappeared forever, even though I put over 100 hours in it. And that's kind of how I feel about it. It makes no sense. It confuses me as well. So, all right. Well, Lono, thank you for joining. Kirk, it's always pleasant to see your face. And I'm not being sarcastic when I say that. And you had something to add to that. Go ahead.
I was wondering where you were going with that. I'm gonna try to make it less pale. The sun's out,
Well,
I'm gonna do what I can. I'm gonna try to shake the vampire allegations. Not going well for me so far.
I think we'll do some good. And Scrag, I'm glad your mom's okay.
Yeah, me too.
All right.
She was
tell
calling me
her-
freaked out.
Okay, well,
Not the
send-
bees.
I'm gonna go check on her again after this.
Oh, shout out
Good.
Spider-Man Noir, by the way, doing numbers. People seem to really like it.
Right.
I watched a
I need to
couple
watch that.
episodes. Should we talk about that, or does Mark need to go?
No,
We
gotta
should
go.
we should wrap
Mark
it up.
needs to
We should
go.
wrap it. Brian's messaging me right now and said, dude, we actually do have a hymns membership. So go back
do
to
we?
that part of the podcast. Look
Is
at
that
it if
for
you
real?
need it. Have a good no, it's not. Okay, let's go.
Aw.
See everyone. Thanks. Have a good one. I gotta hit the end button.